Hello everybody, welcome to the I Am IT Geek YouTube channel. My name is Shabazz Dad, and as ever, I am the IT Geek. Welcome back to another episode in my SC200 Security Operator Analyst exam prep series. So we are well into learning path 1 at the moment. So this is episode 4 in that. I think there's 5 episodes in total potentially in this learning path. It's quite a big one, a lot of topics to cover in here. So far we've kind of already covered threat protection with Microsoft 365, we've covered Microsoft 365 Defender, a lot of topics, so I'm going to do a bit of a recap in the presentation. So like I said, today we're going to be going into the Purview portal and kind of covering a few items in there, so let's get started with this episode. Well, my socials as normal, you should know them all by now. I am putting them in the description. So I'll put my Twitter, my LinkedIn and my TikTok in there. So just to recap, those are the ones we've already covered, but in the last episode, we covered protect your identities with Azure Identity Protection, Microsoft Defender for cloud apps, and we also covered identify data risks with Microsoft Purview compliance solutions. So we also covered respond to data loss prevention alerts using Microsoft Purview. So in today's episode, we are going to cover managing insider risk in Microsoft Purview. We'll then discuss investigate threats using content search in Microsoft Purview. And finally, we'll do a demo about creating insider risk policies. So we'll do that in the Microsoft Purview portal. So let's go into talking about managing insider risk in Microsoft Purview, seeing that's going to be the topic of our demo. So let me just explain this. There's a lot of different types of insider risks, or what class as insider risks. As we can see, this is another diagram I got from Microsoft Learn. Really interesting diagram, and I think explains it quite well. So as we can see, there's a broad range of risks and violations, going from data spillages, IP theft, confidentiality violations, policy violations. That's quite a common one, if I'm honest. Insider trading, which I've not experienced before, but you can imagine in sort of more enterprise, kind of bigger companies where money's exchanging hands, maybe banks and stuff like that, or trading, so when you're dealing with trading and the stocks and stuff like that. Sensitive data leaks, that's quite a common one, I would say, either inadvertently or unfortunately sometimes on purpose. Security violations, another common one. And then sort of workplace harassment, which unfortunately is classed as insider risk and does happen. And then sort of regulatory compliance violations, and again in certain like defense manufacturing or kind of government, regulatory compliance is quite tight, so there's more chance of violations. And again, we've got the means to protect ourselves with Purview. So if you look at the workflow, identifying and resolving internal risks and risk activities and compliance issues within insider risk management in Microsoft 365 uses the workflow that we're showing here. So it starts with a policy, you then have the alerts, you then have to triage any alerts that come in, and that's the triage is where the insider risk case is kind of started. And then within that insider risk case, you then have investigation and action. But if you look there, for collaboration, you have compliance, human resources, and legal and security. So within that insider risk case, those sort of departments are all kind of collaborating during that risk case investigation and triage and action phase. So that's kind of the workflow loosely explained. I want to move on to talking about managing insider risk management. So for that, we have two things. We have policy templates or policies and policy settings. So insider risk management policies that use the sort of data theft by departing users policy template automatically detect activities typically associated with this type of theft. So with this policy, you'll automatically receive alerts for suspicious activities associated with data theft by people who are leaving the business, and you can then take appropriate investigative action. So insider risk management policies created using data leak policy templates automatically detect activities as well, and typically these are associated with sharing sensitive information or confidential information. So this is in preview at the moment, but to help identify risky security activities, insider risk management security policy violation templates. It scores the security risk indicators and uses Microsoft Defender for endpoint alerts to provide insight for sort of the security related activities. That's in preview at the moment. To help identify sort of risky activities like accessing privileged patient records, for example, to accessing records of patients from family or sort of neighbours with malicious intent. Insider risk management policy templates use a Microsoft 365 HR connector and a healthcare specific data connector to start scoring risk indicators relating to behaviours that may or may not occur within your sort of electronic health record system or EHR system essentially. So that is also in preview as well. We then have sort of risky browser usage as well. This is again using that your sort of policy templates to kind of score and show and alert on any sort of browser usage that may be deemed risky. So websites that you're not supposed to view, etc., etc. Move on to policy settings. So those are the policy templates. Some of the policy settings. So we've got privacy and indicators. And I think we've mentioned indicators in the sort of template. So there's different indicators you can configure that will alert on specific things. Then have policy timeframes as well. So how long is this policy in this policy time frame? Between what time frame is this policy enabled? And then we have intelligent detections. So these are kind of more enhanced analytical sort of intelligent detections that will give you kind of more in-depth alerts. So if we move on to talking about now, let's move topics now. Let's talk about investigate threats using content search in Microsoft Purview. So if we talk about creating a content search, who should create and run the content search? That's what level of permission does that person need? Should it be sort of a manager? Should it be team leader? Should it be an IT administrator? What type of content search do you want to create? For example, is it a new search? Is it a guided search? Or is it search by ID list? So knowing the difference between these sort of searches is going to come in handy for that exam. Also need to understand the keywords that we want to use for that search. Depending on what topic you're searching on is going to define what keyword you're going to use. And finally, what conditions should be used? For example, is it a type of data? Is it a sender? Is it a date and a subject or a subject? Sorry, this is finally. Do you want to search for all locations or only specific locations? For example, is it SharePoint or Microsoft Teams, or is it Exchange Online, or is it just one of them, or is it all three? So, you need to designate and kind of specify which location you're searching from. So when we're talking about viewing search results and stats, when you run a content search, you can preview a sample of the search results to determine if the search is actually returning expected results. So you get a maximum of 1,000 randomly selected items that are available to preview, and a maximum of 100 items from a single content location, a mailbox or a SharePoint site can be previewed. For mailbox items, only email messages are available to preview, and for site items, only documents are available to preview. So, after you've run the content search, an organization can then view view a lot of different statistics about those sort of estimated search results. They include, number of content locations with items that match the search query, the identity of the content locations that have the most matching items, and also, these statistics can then help quickly identify which parts of a query are the most or least effective. Finally, when you're viewing search results and stats, if your company uses sort of keyword lists, it'll create or edit a search query. It can then get enhanced statistics to show how many items match each keyword or keyword phrase. Let's talk about exporting search results on a search report. Once an organization successfully runs a content search, you can export those search results to like a local computer. When you export results to email, for example, they're downloaded to your computer as a PST file. When you export content from SharePoint and OneDrive for business sites, copies of the native Office documents are exported. So some prerequisites to exporting search results. When a user exporting the search results, it must be assigned the export management role. Microsoft Edge must be used to run the e-discovery export tool. Explorer 11 is no longer supported to export search results, so keep that in mind. Your company should ensure they can connect to the endpoint in Azure, which temporarily stores the exported data before it's downloaded to the local computer as well. So there's some prerequisites you need to have in place. For additional export considerations, you need to include, stuff like automating the export or download process isn't supported by Microsoft and should be avoided. To improve performance when downloading search results, consider dividing search where it runs or returns a large set of results into smaller searches. So, do not automate the export or download process. It has to be manual. Key takeaway from that. So let's talk about configuring search permission filtering. So filtered search permissions can be configured to allow an e-discovery manager to search for only a subset of mailboxes and sites in Microsoft 365. Permission filtering will allow the e-discovery manager to search only for mailboxes or site content that meets a specific search criteria. So really least privilege access there, kind of down to the T. And then search permissions filtering is configured by creating a filter that uses a supported recipient filter. So this limits which mailboxes can be searched. And finally, filters can be created to specify what mailbox or site content can be searched. Coming towards the end of the theory now, and then we'll jump into the demo. So let's talk about search and delete email messages. So a company can use the content search tree to search for deleted email messages from all mailboxes in its Exchange deployment. So this process can help find and remove potential harmful or high-risk emails, such as messages that contain dangerous attachments or viruses, phishing emails, and messages that contain sensitive data. When deleting email messages, a maximum of 10 items per mailbox can be removed at one time. 50,000 is the maximum number of mailboxes in a content search that you can use. That's a lot of mailboxes. By doing that search and purge action. And you do that by connecting to the security compliance through PowerShell. So you use a PowerShell module for the Security Compliance Center. And you create a content search to find the message to delete, and then you delete that message. And those are the steps to deleting email messages, multiple steps. So you connect to that Security Compliance PowerShell, create a content search to find the message to delete, and then delete those messages. So let's move into the demo now, where we're going to configure a risk management policy. So let's move over to the portal. Welcome back. Here we are back in the compliance or Microsoft Purview portal. So we did like an overview in the last episode demo. So here we are. We're actually going to go down to, we're on the home page. We need to go down to Insider Risk Management. And here we'll see, so this is the sort of the blade for Insider Risk Management. On the overview, we can see some top actions there, but we're obviously concerned, or in this demo, we're going to look at policies. So I don't believe I have any policies at the moment. Nope, you're currently aren't assigned to a role group view alerts, but that's fine. I'm a global admin, so I can create policies. So here I'm going to go to create policy. And here I need to choose my template. So I spoke about a lot of these already in my theory part. So data leaks, we spoke about policy violations. These are different theft by departing users we spoke about. So HR connector, device onboarded, all these sort of different templates we can use. That was a health record misuse that was in preview. That was a risky browser usage that was in preview, if you remember. So let's go with data leaks for this one. And then on the right hand side, we then have sort of the data leaks we can select. So we can have a go for DLP policy, devices onboarded, physical badging connector. So if we just go for DLP policy, so they're the prerequisites that we'll have to do. Click on next. So SE200 demo. SE200 demo. So here now we decide whether to prioritize content. So I want to prioritize, so which content do we want to prioritize? choose what to prioritize. So let's go with that for now. Okay, let's go untick. You can choose it if you don't want to prioritize content right now as well, because let's select that for now. We don't want to prioritize any content for now. So no trigger activity selected. Oh, go back, trigger finger there. So triggers for this policy. Choose one or more triggering events to determine when a policy will be assigning risk scores for user activity. So user matches a data loss DLP policy. For that we need a DLP policy, which we don't have. User performs exfiltration activity. So let's click on that. So we want to turn indicators on as well. Let's turn on all indicators. That's just saving. So, right, okay, what sort of exfiltration do you want to do? Downloading content from SharePoint. So then we want to choose select which sequences will trigger policy. Download from Microsoft 365 location or exfiltrate. So we've got a lot of different. Let's just click on download that one. Let's click on that one as well. So we've chosen our settings. So now we're triggering thresholds for this policy. So we'll just use the default. We can put custom ones in there as well. Total of number of activities 15, number of activities for files. These must be the defaults that are already in there, so you can see those. Number of activities for files. So I'd definitely recommend you go through this, do this demo, do this activity yourself, so you can see what the defaults are. So we'll stick to the default. So next is indicators. So detect options. So these advanced detection options are used to generate alerts for the activity detector. So we spoke about this already. We could turn on all indicators if we wanted to, or we could just leave the ones that are selected. So download from 365 location and exfiltrate. They've already selected these already, and the last ones we can all go in more detail if we wanted to. But we'll leave it as the default ones that are selected. And then do you want to decide whether to use default or custom indicator thresholds. Again, if we click on that, that'll let us select the customized ones, but we're just going to stick to the default thresholds. Then click finish, and then we'll click submit, which will create our insider risk policy. So again, just a quick run through of how to create that. Obviously you can try yourself and try different options and have a play about with that, but I strongly recommend you do. Again, with Microsoft exams in general, I recommend people do the practical bits just as much as they read about the theory, because the way the Microsoft exams the questions are written, it does try and put you in that position like you are an engineer doing this task. This is the problem you've got. How do you fix it? Sort of thing, or what's the answer? So definitely recommend doing the demos. Hopefully you find anything that's helpful. Please do drop me a comment with any feedback, positive or negative, as long as it's productive. Negative. I've had a couple of comments about little bits that I might have missed in some of my videos, some explanations which we wanted a bit simplifying. So yeah, I'm trying my best to fill those gaps as best as I can. So thank you for watching, and until next time, goodbye.